you know, it was an exciting race, and he's an exciting horse. To be teaming back up with him is, you know, it's a great thrill to be able to go and sit on him again. You know, it's obviously a lifetime dream to win the Melbourne Cup, and a horse like this is always going to be have a special place in my heart. Well, it's not a strong race, obviously. 3-year-old, he's a serious horse. He won well in the Ore, I think it's called, and you know, he's got a good draw from 4. I've got a good draw from 1. There's a lot of horses in the race that are genuine stayers. My bloke has proven he's got to turn a foot. You know, he's won a Group 1 weight for age race over a mile. So, you know, fresh enough. I'd say the Williams team have kept him fresh enough to run well. He's only having 2 runs his preparation, so I assume he's going out there to, you know, not just for a fitness race, because there's plenty of other options, I suppose. I could keep him at home, and got lovely facilities there. They could run him first up and 2,000 if they wanted to, if they wished to. But no, I think he'll go on the races, and hopefully he can run well.
Brett Prebble very happy to be reunited with last year's Melbourne Cup winner, the stallion Green Moon. He's a magnificent looking animal, and he's expected to run very well fresh tomorrow. Add
some real interest into the Group 1 futurity, Joe. Drawn the inside. He really has got to turn a foot. I know he's coming back from 3,200 metres, and I think the only other horse to win a Melbourne Cup and then win a futurity is Farlap. So he's going to have to replicate the Great One, but he's got enough attributes to say that he could be very competitive in this race.
Gets the benefit of Barrier 1. He's gone well fresh before. I see him as a chance, and I think they're a clear standout. He and the 3-year-old down there, All Too Hard, who's also drawn well. Look, I just think Brett Prebble will keep him close. He'll know exactly where Dwayne Dunn is on All Too Hard, and this is going to come down to those 2.
And that's the horse that he's got to try and overcome tomorrow, the Star Colt, and half-brother to champion sprinting mare Black Caviar, trained by Team Hawkes. What are your views on this horse?
Interesting preparation. Again, a second up run over 1,400 metres, having won last start the CF4. Interesting races, CF4. King Mufasa was taken on in the early stages of that. King Mufasa will be the pace in this race tomorrow, the futurity. At the back end, King Mufasa had nothing left. He won this race last year, and he had a significantly easier first 600 metres, which allowed him to sprint. There'll be no pressure with all these resuming stayers, so that will really benefit him. But you can see how strong All Too Hard was the last sort of 200 metres.
Yeah, I'm prepared to forgive King Mufasa a touch for that run. He was driven mad in front early, and look, he's an older horse. His New Zealand form has been as good as ever, and I think, look, place chance for sure, but as I've said, this is a skinny race away from those 3. You've got a lot of stayers resuming, including Green Moon, but I like the fact that Green Moon, he's been set for just the 2 runs this prep. This run, Australian Cup, then put him away for the spring and another shot at the Melbourne Cup. I think that shows the 2 runs, he's going to produce something here.
A lot of pressure on All Too Hard. He's likely to back up in the Australian Guineas after tomorrow. And beyond that, his new owners, Vinery Stud, have earmarked Royal Ascot, a campaign there, and possibly on to France before being retired to stud.
It's all about stallion value generation, isn't it? All Too Hard. In Hong Kong, it's the first leg of a double trio, and there's just under $500,000 carried forward into that pool to be won. He's a clear banker. All Too Hard, and you may want to double banker with a horse like King Mufasa or Green Moon.
It sounds like a decent play to me. I mean, because out of those resuming stayers, like, who do you take? You just don't know what they're going to do first up over 1,400 metres, maybe Lights of Heaven, but maybe one of them is just feeling good in his skin on that day, and he runs a race and gets in there at odds. So,
and you've got a nutcase like Glass Ammonium. Like, what's that going to do at the start?
What does it do to the speed? I said that King Mufasa got driven mad in front last start. Well, there's a 50-50 chance he gets driven mad here in front again, but it all comes down to that flip of a coin over whether Glass Ammonium jumps out of the gates or not. If he does, we've got speed in the race. If he doesn't, we might not, and King Mufasa gets a soft lead, and everyone's got to change their tactics accordingly. So Glass Ammonium, while I'm not sort of counting him as a real threat here, he does hold the key as far as his barrier manners go.
Sadly, his temperament makes him a very risky proposition. He hasn't ever realised his potential, I don't think.
No, he never has. He's also had other injury problems as well. So for him to be at the tracks, a good piece of training by Mike Moroney. I don't think he can win over 1,400 metres anyway. I don't think he's quite had the right preparation, even if he does rock forward at the right time when the gates open.
One horse that always puts his best foot forward is the 3-year-old colt All Too Hard. Let's now catch up with his trainer, Wayne Hawkes, about how he's progressing towards tomorrow.
Yeah, he's licked the bin and trained on really well, so everything's right with him.
The way that he was pretty well primed first up, wasn't he? I mean, what came out of it?
Yeah, no, you know, he'll benefit from the run, and probably when he got the front, he probably nearly had enough. So there's plenty of improvement left in him, and you know, it's hard because you run the first up over 1,400. You're trying to get him fit, but you're you know, you're looking to leave plenty in the tank for the next couple of runs. So he's pulled up well.
I guess what we can read from your father sort of saying that you're looking at running in both tells us that the horse is going pretty good.
Yeah, he's going good. I mean, look, you know, each run as it comes, and that's how it's been the whole way through. But Futurity's the main aim is his next start. Then obviously you'll see how he runs on Saturday, and he'll have to make a decision after that. Then obviously wait until about Monday or Tuesday before you sort of really decide whether we back up in the Guineas. But when you're backing a horse up, they've got to be spot on. If they're not spot on, you're on a hide to nothing to run them.
What sort of a type is he within the stable, mate? Is he a pretty leisurely type? Goes along with everything?
Oh, in his box, he's a colt. He's a colt. He knows he's a boy, and you know, he'll bite you. That's for sure and certain. But only play, but those big colts play rough. But you could actually ride him through a bushfire. When he's out of his box, you can do whatever you want with him.
He knows what he is all too hard, so the sooner he goes to stud, perhaps the better for those that have to handle him at the track in the morning.
He's the market leader, 1.6, 1.7 in Australia, so everything points to All Too Hard in terms of how the race maps. He should get a perfect sit. Tempo set by King Mufasa, maybe Kunamu might slide forward, Green Moon, 3 back the inside at worst, should be able to sprint to a placing. I'd wanted to put King Mufasa up higher in selections because he's going to get all sectional favours, I believe. So maybe I should have had him in second, but you'll be wanting to watch his price on the day, King Mufasa.
Yeah, just as in addition to the numbers, I've got the same as you. They're clear standouts for mine, but I think just maybe Lights of Heaven if you throw her in as well for multiples. I think she's got a touch of quality. She's resuming off a pretty lacklustre Melbourne Cup run. But she's ran well fresh before and competed well over this distance. So, yeah, for mine, Lights of Heaven as well as All Too Hard, Green Moon and King from Mufasa.
I think Green Moon is very wound up for tomorrow, and I've tipped him on top to beat the young colt All Too Hard. And King Mufasa, we know he'll run a good race tomorrow. He's as genuine as they come.
10-time Group 1 winner with a recent stable change, controversial in many ways, but Bruce Wallace, the current trainer, and he trained the horse that won the Classic Cup when it was in New Zealand.
Okay.
It's just fantastic to see All Too Hard, just a colt, such a valuable colt, you know, that Vinery paid 25 million Australian for him, train on and to take on some tough races. He's not a protected species. They're talking about racing him in 3 races this prep and then backing him up a week after this race and then maybe on to England as well. I think it's great to see, and maybe the fact that he was defeated a couple of times as a 2-year-old, it makes it a bit easier for them to move later on.
The better he can perform against these open class older horses, the better it is for his stud value.
Yeah, certainly plenty of ticks there. I think that's probably the easiest race on the card in terms of chances. The Group 1 Oakley Plate is a really tough race, and that's sort of the third of the Group 1s, Joe, that we'll get to see. But we do get to see, speaking about global horses, Hortensia has to carry a big weight though.
She comes off a highly successful international campaign, Hortensia, and deservedly carrying saddlecloth #1 tomorrow in the Group 1 Oakley Plate over 1,100 metres. This is a $400,000 race, which also sees Baraki coming across from Western Australia to Melbourne for the first time. He's Perth's equivalent of Black Caviar, undefeated in 11 starts so far. Yeah,
there's always a little bit of mystique when a horse comes over from Western Australia to take on the Victorians first time. I'll tell you what, the handicappers haven't missed him though, have they? I mean, he won the Winterbottom over there. It wasn't a spectacular win. I'd describe it more as workmanlike, his last win there. What do you think, Chase? And I would have liked to seen him if he was coming in on a lightweight or even middle of the weights, but he's only going to give Hortensia or get 1 kilogram off Hortensia, a multiple Group 1 winner who's travelled all around the world.
Yeah, and this is what she did in the Alquaz sprint. I suppose, given that she's a mare, there's a little bit of an extra sort of impost there that's built into that. But saw Hortensia trial over 900 metres at Rosehill. It was only fair behind Miss Onassis, Mrs Onassis rather, married, Mrs Onassis. So I don't know that she is going to be a great winning chance. She's around 9 to 1 in Australia. But just touching on the Western Australia thing, Scenic Blast carried 57 when running 5th in it a few years ago, and he came off, I think, winning the Lightning. So he was tried on the eastern seaboard, whereas Barracky at the moment isn't.
Well, that just shows you how tough it is. For Hortensia, I just think she's the value, and she hasn't got to give too many weight. I'd love to find one lower down in the weights that's on the way up. I can't really. She's drawn 4. Craig Williams gets a perfect run. I know that run there in the Alquaz was up the straight, but I see her getting a similar type of run in the way that she will just sit right in behind the speed, peel off at a vital stage and just have the quality and turn of foot to finish it off.
Yeah, she's good fresh, she's good at Caulfield, and she's top class.
The race pressure is significant. One thing that Barracky showed when he won the Winterbottom is that he could absorb pressure. He sat right on speed that day, and he was the last one standing. All those that were around him faded, and he managed to fight off Spirit of Boom, who had the perfect run in that race. But he's going to have to do that in this race, Joe. He's going to have to absorb a lot. And
I think a key point too is his trainer, Jim Taylor. He's no fool. He knows the horse is now finally ready to step up to the Group 1 plate against the best in the East, because I'm sure along the way already it's been very tempting to bring the horse to those bigger races.
I think he comes at the right time. I just think this isn't the race that I like him in. I prefer maybe when he comes back to Weight for Age. I think he'll be around for a while, and he'll be a la Haylist, who spent his early part of his career in Western Australia. He'll be among those big Group 1 sprint races, but just today, handicap conditions, wide draw, pressure race. Like we saw it last year where it's just a bunch field. You get around that corner, it can favour a swooper. If you're up in near the speed, it's going to be no place for the faint-hearted.
How about the filly, who has no weight? What do you think of Shamil Wind?
She's drawn 1. Last start didn't look spectacular at Moonee Valley, but I think she's better ridden just with a sit. She was pushed to lead that day, and probably made it look harder than it was. And there was probably a lot more merit in that run. I think with a sit, just what, 50.5 kilos, Glenn Boss from Barrier 1, with a race like there is so much speed in this race, there's no other way that I can see it being run than at a helter-skelter tempo. I think that really favours her. They've got a big opinion of her. There's only 3 starts under her belt. But that's the sort of horse that I was looking for. I've got her in my numbers for sure. She's got a great turn of foot. She's
going to be given a lesson in racing from that inside draw, like a filly up against these hardened sprinters with everything around her happening. She probably won't be any closer than 3 back the inside. She wasn't great out of the barriers last start at Moonee Valley, and she wasn't great out of the barriers when she won down the straight at Flemington either. So I'd be very surprised whether she's any closer than 3 back the inside. And OK, she's got Group 1 Glenn Voss and all that sort of thing. He's going to have to navigate the right path, but she is going to feel everything in that race that she's never felt before.
Just one at odds here that I want to throw out. Brett Preble, he's gone down under for the ride on Green Moon, of course, a horse that he loves and his name will always be linked to, but he's picked up the ride on Spirit of Boom, who's double-figure odds, and he's another horse that he's just so consistent in these races. He could win this race.
Vassal Tigre placed last year. What do you think in terms of selections, Michael? We may as well go to those, and what did you think about that sort of where you'd want to bet?
Well, I think for mine, Hortensia, if she's at the 9 to 1 that you're talking about, she's tried and true. First up, yeah, the trial didn't look great, but she'd be rusty. She's done a bit of travel. I think she just gets the draw and the right run race. And same goes for Shamil Wind, lightweight, drawn 1. Warham, I'd probably start to reconsider that. He's had his issues. He comes back, won this race last year, as we'll watch in a moment. And the one at odds that I would throw in for value, Spirit of Boom for sure, Brett Preble's ride. Yeah.
I've gone with the filly with the postage stamp on her back, Shamil Wind tomorrow, unbeaten in 3 starts. She's a superstar in the making. Hortensia, the seasoned sprinting mare, she'll run a race tomorrow fresh and bar a key. I would not be surprised at all to see him win. He'll certainly be very prominent in the finish.
I think he's going to be able to withstand the pressure of the race. He has a bit of weight to carry, but I think he can overcome that. Spirit of Boom, for the reasons that Michael mentioned, I think he's the clear value in the race, actually, around $15 in Oz. Facile Tigra, just a bit longer in Australia than Spirit of Boom, is another one that should be flashing at them. But I think when the whips start cracking, he can stand up Barrackey and show that he's a well above average sprinter.
This was a memorable day for Queensland trainer Rob Heathcote. Last year, he trained his first Group 1 winner, Wirram, in the Oakley Plate as we take a break.
They're ready to run for the Oakley Plate. With him is Eagle Falls, 2 lengths Johanna Prime, Diplomatic Force. Down the outside, Elite Falls. Seaboy led narrowly at the 200 from Winter King. On the outsiders, Facile Tigra starting to come home, and then Katana at Elite Falls. Seaboy the leader, 100 to go. First command, Facile Tigra close, and Elite Falls. Elite Falls swaps them, and Wirram came late. Elite Falls and Wirram headed together from Facile Tigra.